Hello again. What do you say we get this speaker set up, wired in, so we can put it on the bench and bring it up on the Variac, bring this radio up. We need to put some power to this thing. You know, I'm just as anxious as the rest of you, but I don't have the luxury of just saying let's get it on the bench and fire it up. And it doesn't work that way. All right, what I've done here is I've already bored the hole through the chassis and I've got the terminal strip mounted. And I'm getting ready to solder in this 10-watt resistor, and you all know why the resistor has to be there. And I've got a pair of vice grips on a thick kind of tissue cloth-like deal, and I'm keeping downward pressure, very, very light pressure. I don't want to crack the old ceramic resistor, of course. I've got very light pressure, which holds the ceramic resistor down against the chassis. And anytime you have any of these hot resistors, it's always good to try to get them against the chassis for heat dissipation. Okay. So let me go ahead and solder these two in, and then I'll show you a top view of what we've got. Well, there she is. She's nice and tight against the chassis. Now, I don't, how long it'll stay there is beyond me. But it's got plenty of clearance on the chassis screw, and it comes up through. The screw from the bottom of the cabinet will come up through and go through here. It could go all the way into here, and it still wouldn't hit it. That's quite a ways, but the screw only comes to it'll only come to about this point right here. Plenty of room, plenty of clearance, good heat dissipation with the chassis. It's away from the tone control switch, and it's not bothering any of the tubes. And it's real close to a convenient grounding point down in there. I may or may not use that, I don't know. I'm going to need that grounding point for whatever capacitor we choose, remember, to smooth out the ripple. So what I have to do now, let's take a look at our schematic. We've got the resistor in. Now we have to run a wire from one side of the resistor over to one of the small holes on the speaker plug. And then the other side of the resistor comes across and goes up to the other small hole. Okay? 2 wires. Anybody can solder in 2 wires, the 2 small holes, one to each side of the resistor. Let's do that. I think I want to use orange. I'm kind of an orange nut when it comes to wiring, and I haven't had a chance to use all the orange I want to use for this project yet. I got to get it out of my system. I got to get it out. There's the 2 orange wires. One here and one here, each soldered to one end of that resistor and soldered over here to the 2 small holes on the speaker plug. So now all we have to do is take the speaker itself, the audio output transformer, and hook it up. Now I think what I've decided to do here, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and tack solder an electrolytic capacitor. I think I'll go ahead and use this 47 temporarily. I'm just going to tack solder it. Tack soldering, for those that don't know, it's a temporary solder, just a quick touch of solder. That when we heat it, it'll just come right off. But it'll hold until we get done with what we're going to do with it. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'll just go ahead and put down here. I think there's a ground spot right there, and I think I'll just go ahead and tack solder it in just like that. And then we'll leave it that way until after we test the radio. Well, there it is, folks, all wired in. I got it insulated on both ends just in case. And the next time you see this thing, it will be on the workbench. We're going to hook it up to the Variac and bring it up. Between now and then, I'm going to go through every wire, every connection, and make sure nothing is touching. I don't want anything touching. So we'll gauge the wire in the speaker and bring it up, and we'll see what happens, okay? Are you ready? I'm ready. It's 10:40 at night. I just got home from work, and I haven't even made a nightly cup of coffee, which I always drink before I go to bed. Most people say, God, if I drink coffee, I'll never sleep. Doesn't bother me a bit. I can drink 4 cups, hit the rack, and go right out. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm kind of tired right now, but we're going to try to fire this thing up and get some kind of sound out of it. So we have to do 3 or 4 things first. I've got the wire here hooked to the primary. I got 2 gator wires hooked to the primary of the audio output transformer on the speaker. Okay, now we have to gator wire those in underneath the chassis to the rear of the speaker plug. So where do we hook that thing at? Well, let's take a look. You'll remember that the 2000 ohm 10-watt resistor we put in was right here. Well, one of the wires came across and hooked right there, and the other side came across. This is the back of the speaker plug now, and hooked there. So they both hooked to the two small ones. But we have another one that connects into one side of that. This is your audio output transformer right here, and this is your primary. Now one side comes across of the primary, and it hooks to right there. The large hole directly across from the ground connection. Now that would be, these two are identical. You know, you could take one and lay it right on top of another. They just had to set up the speaker set up down here because they couldn't just put it up there in the schematic. It would have covered everything. So they just kind of carried this picture here down here to show you where the connections are. So one side comes across. It says it's a green wire. And it comes across and it hooks there. Now up here in that same plate is a green wire. So one of the wires from the primary goes to the green wire on the back of the speaker plug. Okay? Green, green. Now the other side hook comes over and hooks to this top small one. Now this top small one is up here. See? That small one there is this small one here. These are identical. This is the exact same thing. Okay? That's a yellow one. Well, that's easy enough. All I got to do is gator wire this primary into the green and into the yellow wire on the back of the speaker plug. So let's do that. Alright, there's the green wire right there. See, that's why it was good to follow the wire colors on the schematic. Makes it a lot easier to find. This is the green wire right here. The yellow wire is up in that connection up in there. Up in there. There's the yellow wire coming across here like this. It comes up and it connects right there. So what we're going to do, here we go, you can watch me do it. I'm going to go ahead and hook this one to that green wire connection. If I can get a good bite on it. Let me see. There we go. And then I'm going to hook the other one up here to the yellow wire connection. Now this is pretty high voltage, so you got to be careful in here, folks. Make sure none of this stuff is touching the chassis. Make sure it's not touching anything else. You know, there's some pretty powerful voltage coming up through there. I think I've got it. Let me go ahead and bring the lamp over just to make sure I'm not touching anything else. And I am not. Okay, the yellow wire and the green wire have been connected. Our speaker is now connected. Now we got to do a couple of other things and then we can fire it up. The next thing I had to do was take the tops off the IF cans, and the reason being is the trimmer caps, when I put them in there, I cleaned them all out and I put them back together. I snugged them on down. I didn't make them tight, I just kind of gently snugged them down. I need to kind of unscrew them a little bit. I think I'll unscrew them about, maybe 3/4 of a turn. Let me get over here where you can see a little better. Maybe 3/4 of a turn. I know there's people out there saying, no, half a turn. So what? There's a half a turn right there, and we'll go about 3/4. Okay, I'll take each one. There's a half a turn, and there's about 3/4 right there. And a half a turn, and about, maybe 3/4. Okay? Alright, that takes care of that. The next thing we have to do is gator wire up the antenna, and it'll be the blue wire. Okay? By golly, I think we've got it. Oh yeah, one other thing I had to do. I got to put some tape around the different control rods here. Let me get that done. Well, I didn't have to use tape on all of them. I had 3 spare knobs up in my drawer here, so they fit on there. This one's a little loose, but it fits on there. The other 2 are kind of snug. The reason you do this, when you power up for the first time, you don't know. One of these could be, I could have something wired wrong in there. You could have wired something wrong in there. Protect yourself. Keep yourself insulated till you find out if everything's okay. All right, here we go, people. You're going to see it for the first time, just like me. I have not fired this up yet. Now, here's the deal. If everything works okay, I'm going to be a happy camper. I'm going to go get me a cup of coffee, and then I'll come back to it in the morning. If it doesn't work okay, if something goes wrong, I'm going to go get me a cup of coffee, and I'm going to come back to it in the morning. So here we go. Okay, I've got the variac down. Power supply is on, the isolation transformer. Alright, what we're looking for now is some tube glow, light, dial light glow, and some noise. That's all I want. I don't care if it's static, I don't care what it is, as long as my current draw is low. Here we go. We're bringing up the voltage. We're up to 30 volts. Oh, I guess I maybe ought to turn the switch on. That would help, huh? Turn it on up there. Get it up to about, well, maybe 3/4 of the way. And already we're at 0.2. I'm not so sure about this. We are now up to 50 volts. Current draw is awful high. 50 volts, the current draw should not be that high, but we're going to keep going. I may have something hooked up wrong. Drats. Something is not right, folks. We're up to 1/2 amp already. And we're not getting any lights at 85 volts. Let's see what happens when I turn this off. Let's try our tone switch to see if that does anything. Well, shucks-a-roo. We're at 1/2 amp and we're only at 85 volts. I haven't had one go that high before. That's not good at all. Okay, we're at about 100 volts. No dial lights. Something's wrong. I have a question. This radio didn't work on first power up. What'd you do to it?
I kicked the pee out of it.
You kicked the pee out of it. It is the next morning and I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I want you to see what our problem here is. We have no dial lights and we have no heater lighting up in the tube. None of the heaters are lighting. So the problem is down here somewhere, because right here is the line that goes up through this resistor, comes across and goes up into the dial light section, okay? Alright, I knew I had wired this thing correctly, or at least I felt confident I had wired it correctly. So I needed to go around and check the solder joints. And sure enough, you know, from experience, having done this before, a blob of solder had gotten out the side of that connector and it was touching that nut. So I removed that soldered blob and pushed this thing back. It's now clear of the nut. I may go ahead and put a little liquid tape on there afterwards if that proves to be the problem solver. So let's fire it up a second time and see what happens. Alright, the pin that was grounding out was this one right here, pin 1 of the 2A7. And you can see the filament voltage was just coming around and just going straight to ground. None of it was getting to the filament or the heater string. And none of it was getting to the dial lights. Alright, fire in the hole. Alright, let's crank up the voltage. Let's see what we got. Now remember, voltage is here, current is here. I don't want a big lot of current draw like I had last time. Let's bring her on up. Alright, we're up to 30 volts, 40 volts, 50 volts. Alright, the current draw is staying down. Cool! Cool, cool, cool! 50 volts, let's go up to 60 volts. The current draw is still way down. 60 to 70. And we are getting some dial lights, people. Check this out. Check it out. You getting any filaments glow yet? Well, nothing quite yet. I like the fact the filament draw is staying, the current draw is staying way down. Okay, here we go. 80 volts. Keep your eye on that current meter. That ammeter is very important. 90 volts. Ooh, our dial lights are getting nice and bright. Look at that. Ooh. What's going on? Oh, we're starting to get a little bit of filament. A little bit of heaters light up. I don't see them all lighting up. We're going to have to put a little more voltage to it, I think. Okay, there's 100 volts. 110 volts. Current draw is still way down. Looking real good. It's climbing up a little bit, so some of the heaters must be coming online. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Getting any sound out of the speaker? Yes, 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 yes. No stations though. Let's take it up a little higher. Let's go up to 110, 115, about 120 volts because I got that power resistor in there, so it won't make much, you know, the voltage will be a lot lower. Let's see how we're doing. Come on, camera, you can focus. Current draw is right about where I want it. Alright. But no stations. Let me play around with it, see if I can bring in a station. Well, it's almost time to go to work. And I've been able to get this out of it so far. It's getting there, but it's not really even close yet.
Divine election and human free will. This sermon, we think, will help you work out some of the difficulties the community is having.
Not bad, huh? After how many years? Sound out of this poor old radio. All right. And the band switch lights work like they're supposed to. Cool, huh? That's broadcast, and that's I think the low range of the shortwave. That's the upper range, or the opposite. I'm not sure which. I don't have the dial scale on, but that's broadcast. Let me see if I can tune in anything else here before I call this video over.
So the NFL, even if you're
Oh, that's not bad. Not bad. We're getting there.
Didn't sell out Friday at noon it used to be. You wouldn't get to watch the Broncos.
Okay. I'll just play around with it for the next day or two. Until next time, I appreciate you being here, and you actually saw the actual fire up first and second time. And we shall see you all later. Well, I once more, I can't end the video until I show you something else. Check this out. How about that, huh? We're getting better and better. Now let me see. Who was it? Who was it that was taking odds in the very beginning? Who was that? Oh, yeah. I think it was my buddy George down in Texas. Hey, George, check this out, buddy. All right, now I can end it on a positive note. See you next time, guys.